look the same.
No, I was like, man, dang, man, you lost some lbs. He's like, yeah, man, COVID-19, I lost 19.
But then he told us we just look the same, which means no progress.
Well, I don't know if that was good or bad. I'm going to take it as that was good. That means we look, we hadn't seen it for like a year and a half, so we still look the same. So we didn't age. We didn't gain any weight. We look the same. So that's always good. Mickey, you probably look like that probably the last 10 years. Probably you probably haven't changed it. I mean, you ever talked about you weigh 167.
I want to weigh 167.
I was a junior in high school.
I told you, man, I went home. I graduated from college, and I worked. I had this job where I traveled for a year, and I went home and stopped this little hamburger place, and I was going to get a hamburger and a milkshake. The lady was like, man, you put on a lot of weight. And I was like, I won't be having anything today. And I just got in my truck and drove to my mom and dad's house.
Well, that was after a year of college or something?
No, a year of traveling after college. So I'm just like eating it wherever and, not having tight extras. I went home and weighed myself. I weighed 169 pounds.
Oh, you picked up 2 pounds?
I guess so. But all she could talk about, boy, you got big over this. I hadn't seen you in a while. What happened to you? I went home and weighed myself 169 pounds.
Well, since we're guys, how much do you actually weigh now? Like a ballpark, just guess. I mean,
probably like 171 or 2, which I shouldn't weigh that much. I feel bad
that shouldn't weigh that much.
Lucas, what do you weigh?
I graduated high school at 175.
But you're finally tuned athletic machine. I'm just a guy.
High school, though.
Yes, you were. You were going to go to college and play ball. I was just going to go to college and be there.
Man, I was 185. I was a minion.
I've never weighed more than 185 in my life. And that was when I graduated college. Now I'm like around that 160, 165 mark.
See, 165 is what you weigh?
Yeah. I can't gain weight. Like, I eat like a maniac, and I don't work out enough. But I can't.
You don't work out enough, or you don't work out at all.
You can say not at all. That's fine. There's no judgment here.
I do some push-ups every now and then.
Oh, some push-ups. Oh, you Bo Jackson?
I do my stretches in the morning.
Push-ups and sit-ups.
Oh, yeah.
Herschel Walker.
You look like you're really flexible.
But no, I can't gain weight. Like, my girlfriend hates me for it. And
are you not going to do some protein shakes and start going on this bodybuilding?
Do you want to gain weight?
I mean, he doesn't want it bad enough. He doesn't want
I don't know if it's good weight. I'd rather focus on what we got going on here than going on a run or something.
I just want to say you're really taking some people off because you're like, I just can't gain weight. I just can't do it. And they're like, I can look at a Twinkie and gain weight.
Oh, man, if I quit eating Twinkies and honey buns at night, I probably would be all right. Maybe back down to my playing weight, about 200.
You probably had to carry about 200, though, just to have enough on you to survive, right? Just to be like,
I was like 197 my rookie and second year early on, but after that, it was, 200. 202 was right where I needed to. 202 was right where I needed to be. Because one year I got to like the 210, and I felt like, I felt like this is too much muscle trying to change directions. I don't need all of this. These guys is feeling real quick. Kind of like Lucas' quickness.
You played so long, and you can look at somebody else and go, that guy's left toe hurts. Like you can do that. I imagine if you got
like I'm gonna step on his toe to help me.
100%. You were sizing him up. You could probably tell either way real quick. Like, I need to gain a couple, or I need to lose a couple of pounds.
I was always after that. I was really more wanted to lean to the lighter side because everything else is emotions, and you want to keep your speed and quickness. So for a guy in the skill position, you're still gonna get run over. I mean, they're running full speed forward, and you're standing flat-footed. I mean, who do you think is gonna win? I mean, the object is to get them on the ground and live for another down. So you got to have that kind of mentality. It's always funny just to see when guys are running people over and they get up and start flexing. I'm like, oh, okay. But if I shoe was the other way, I would have done the exact same thing to you. Matter of fact, I might have kept running. Now, you wouldn't have got my shoestring. Yeah.
That's what makes it. I know you're a fan of Steve Atwater, and you've talked a lot about him over the years. That dude, he just was going to come try to kill everybody who roamed into his territory.
Oh, yeah. He changed the path of the Nigerian Nightmares' whole career.
Sure
really
did.
With that one hit on Monday. Was it Monday night? Yeah. That's pretty cool. Speaking of safeties, I just saw my man, as we talked about it, we mentioned it yesterday, Jamal Adams got the big deal. He's bringing the heat. Man, I didn't realize he had so many sacks. He had like 9 sacks or something last year.
Yeah.
In one season.
Yeah.
Like, man, dang, that's really hard to do when knowing that's what you do.
Do you remember? Because there's a knock on everybody almost everybody, maybe not the top.
Well, everybody's knocking on him because they're saying he's a box safety, but I don't know if you really watch him. He's more than that.
Yeah.
Because he's guarding the tight end. He can play too deep. Now, is that his strength? Absolutely it is. Yep, there you go. Absolutely it is.
No doubt.
But, I mean, he can do a lot of different things that cause, offenses really to make sure they're paying attention to where for him, and that should open it up for his other teammates. But he's done it wherever he's at. So, yeah, I'm not mad that he got the big deal. I know a lot of people in the media, it'll be interesting to see how he's viewed when his career is over, though. Because I would say our careers, not statistically because he's got better stats, but our styles of play are very similar. Very similar.
Do you remember what the knock on him was because everybody has a knock on him. Everybody, no matter who you are.
When he came out of LSU, I don't remember. Because he went like top 10 pick, didn't he?
He did. I'm trying to get it called up
I think
here.
he was he might have been, no, he wasn't fifth. It might have been 10th pick. But let me see if I'm right. Am I right?
I'll have to look at that.
Oh.
Here's his strengths. 6 foot tall, 214 pounds. He isn't the biggest in the world, but he's cut and plays with that hitter's mentality that coaches covet. He flies downhill, yet he maintains enough control to react to a change of direction from the ball carrier. A lot of his work comes pre-snap. I know you like that because you did a lot of work pre-snap. It tells you he's watching filming and he's studying things. He has a ton of pros. So here's what they list as.
Oh, dang, we missed it. Go ahead.
Were they showing his money?
Well, no, they were showing his stats where the offenses score 7 points less. They average 100 yards less, and then they put without him what they did because he got injured last year, and all those numbers added up where they were giving up 100 more yards total offense and a touchdown.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, and this, he missed multiple games because he had something wrong with his shoulders. That's another thing they worry about durability with him, which all the questions the same as me. But I didn't come out as a safety; I was a corner, so they were all, he's, tight hips, he's a step too slow, he's too short to be a safety.
Okay, this is for him. Can he cover?
Yeah.
Can he cover? Can he cover?
But I
guys?
played corner, so I don't think the covering part ever really came out for me.
And then his speed, he ran a 4.56.
Oh, we were right about to say at the combine.
So yes,
Yeah,
but then magically, and please, if you're listening to this, everybody runs a great thing at their pro day.
Right, because I did too.
Oh, he blistered at his pro day.
Yeah, I ran a 4.4 something. But at the combine, it was somewhere around the 4.56. I'm like, oh no, man, somebody's messing with the timer. I've never run a 4.5.
It's that laser timer, man. That thing is not your friend.
I said they need to look at the film, man. I'm running by people.
He was 6th overall.
6. I knew he was top 10. That guy.
6th overall.
Yeah, he was doomed. He was going to get the money. There was no way. And then they traded for him. They had to give him money. If not, they gave up a lot of draft capital for him. And he's a really good player. Just a matter of scheme, system, and how you want to utilize him. But he's an impactful player on defense.
Well,
Plays in space really well.
He does. And
great tackler.
Okay, so maybe he's not the best cover guy. He does everything else so well.
Yeah.
He affects the game. Like the most affected game guy, like the Steelers would be down by 4 in the fourth quarter, and Troy Polamalu would just go rogue.
Yep.
And just do something crazy that he was athletic enough to go do.
And sometime outside of the scheme, I've talked to Ryan Clark, and he said it before. And, I think Troy even talked about him a little bit in his Hall of Fame speech. Thanks for his teammate. He said, Ryan for sure.
So here you go. This is that draft. Number 1 overall was Myles Garrett.
Oh.
Number 2, Mitch Trubisky to the Bears. Think about the Bears. That's who they took. Mitch Trubisky.
I didn't agree. I watched him at North Carolina, and I saw the guy start before him 3 years and beat him out, and he only started 1 year.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, man. Come on, NFL.
Solomon Thomas was 4th to the 49ers.
Oh,
Leonard Fournette, who's kind of become a journeyman, although he's got a Super Bowl ring.
Mm-hmm.
He went 4th overall to the Jags. 4th, Leonard Fournette. I know he was a bad dude, but in the 5th overall pick, Corey Davis. New York Jet Corey Davis. Then Jamal Adams. because I love Jamal Adams in that draft.
Oh, I did too.
I mean, that's a guy that got talked about a lot around.
Well, you know,
here.
I'm always focused on the DBs being a former DB. I wanted the Titans to trade almost their whole draft to get Jalen Ramsey. To move up to get him, and then Jamal Adams. I was really, fascinated with how well he did in college, and that would translate to the NFL if in the right system and scheme and utilizing right. And that's what the Seahawks and the Jets. And so, they know what he fits in, and hey, I like him. But people rip him and just all the time saying he's not worth that kind of money. What player really is worth the money that they actually get at this point in time? I mean, when you look at the NBA money, I'm going, oh my gosh, man, sheesh, he's making $40 million. He's making 30. I was a regular guy. I'm like, I've never even heard a guy. He's making 20. Never heard of him.
I was going to say, there's dudes in the NFL and the NBA making 15, 20 million a year that somebody could show us a picture of, and we would say, I have no idea who that is. And we follow sports, and you love basketball.
I'm following it. Yeah, I grew up in Indiana. You got to. Oh yeah, that's another thing too. With Buck talking about he's from Indiana. He's from Evansville. Evansville. I'm gonna give a correlation to people here that would really understand. Evansville is like Memphis to Nashville. Yeah,
like how it's viewed or how far away.
Both. It's almost like they're not part of Indiana. Yeah, exact same thing. No. Yeah, I've been meaning to say this to him. So
it's a drive-by.
Yeah. Make sure I'm sure he's hearing this all the way in Tampa Bay.
No, he didn't hear anything.
I keep forgetting to say something to him, and then, man, you just reminded me. And every time I think of it, we move on to something else. So yeah.
You got that off your chest.
Yeah, I wanted to. I'm like, yeah, you're not really. Nah, Indianapolis, Evansville. It's like almost like a 4.5-hour drive from Indy. It's a little ways. I went up there. Watch this on a recruiting visit.
Purple Aces.
Yeah,
they don't even have football anymore.
Nope. And I went on a visit. They were Division II at the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my man Chad Honey. Went there with my high school team.
I know we got to go. Lucas is going to bark at us.
See, I went to visit a school that doesn't even, and then I went initially to a school that no longer exists. They had, at least Evansville just exists. They just don't have any more football.
Right. Like the curse, man. Blaine shows up. You ain't going to have football much longer, baby.
Hey, but I beat the curse though. I always beat the curse.
I played a casino in Evansville. I played a gig at a casino there with Andy Childs, who's a fantastic country singer. The band that played for the NFL draft downtown, the singer for that band, Six Wires, Andy Childs, I played a gig with him. He gave Andy, if you're listening, I love you.
Well, why did he let you play at the draft?
No, I don't know. I'm not good enough. They're really good. His regular band are like
fake
pros,
it till you
pros.
make it.
I can't fake that. That dude wouldn't give me a set list. We played 4 hours a night. I had no idea what was coming next. He would just start playing a song.
Oh, well, that'd be fun. That's kind of how we do our show, though.
Amen. Hey, when we come back.
We had no idea we'd be talking about this right now.
We did not, but we did it. Chris Lee from VandySports.com next.
Take every Titans game with you.
Put your seatbelt on and let's do this thing. Let's do this thing is right.
Get every game by downloading the 104.5 The Zone app.
so long. Chris, how in the world are you doing, man? Are you making it through the grind of camp okay?
Yeah, it is a grind, but football is close, and I think that always makes us feel better, right?
Oh, man, yes. We got high school football Friday night. That season's over in the blink of an eye.
It really is.
I mean,
yeah.
10 weeks. It's not even cold outside hardly before that season ends. So I always tell people, if you love high school football and the band and the pageantry and the players and everything, of the smell of the concession stand, I love all of it. The smell of the grass field, although, some have turf fields now. It smells like turf, but that season's over really quickly. But college football season about to get started quickly. I wanted to ask you this, first of all, again, Chris Lea, VandySports.com, covering all things Vanderbilt. So we're a few days into camp now, several actually. What are you hearing about Clark Lea and how the team is responding to him and his system and his assistants? Because it's always interesting when you get a new coach to hear what people say.
Well, as you guys probably know, we are doing a podcast every week with Ken Seals, the starting quarterback. And without even answering that myself, all I would say is listen to how Ken talks about it and the excitement in his voice, and remember that this is a team that a year ago went 0-9 and, didn't play its last game. And we've rehashed all the things with the misery of last year, but you can hear the excitement in his voice. You can see the enthusiasm at practice that the kids have. I don't know. The talent, I think, is going to get in the way of a lot of things, and they're going to have some depth issues. But I think in terms of just what he has done to inspire the players and get them in as good a shape as he could get them to play the games ahead, I think he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, this was a team that was just beaten down in every sense of the word. And to go out there and watch them and watch the energy and the enthusiasm, and to do those podcasts with Ken every week and just hear it in his voice, I think it's a real testament to what Clark Lea has done in a short period of time.
And Chris, Clark Lea's never going to say this because he doesn't believe it. But for anybody outside the program, you look at them and you thought, gosh, if they win, the 3 games maybe they're supposed to win, looking at their schedule, and then they're competitive in other games, just competitive, he will have had a successful year. Again, he's never going to say that, think that way, or admit that. But to people outside looking in, 3 wins and competitive and showing that they're building something would be huge for this bunch.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot because I know that he knows his kids have already been demoralized enough. And so the question of expectations for him, I think, is a tough one, right? Because if you say we're setting the bar low, that's just telling your players, we're not capable of winning a lot of games. If you set it high, it puts it in an unfair spot for everybody. I think he's done a really good job, and this is not surprising. He just is so intentional in everything that he does, of just being measured with his words and, being hard on his team when he needs to be, but also lifting kids up when he needs to. I think that, again, so much of what goes on is talent, but there's so much between the ears, and I just have been so impressed as I've gotten to see it with my own eyes of how he approaches basically everything that he does.
Yeah, absolutely. We had him on, and we enjoyed talking to him, too. Chris Lea joins us from VandySports.com.
Well, Chris, has he talked about, players getting, what was it, their numbers or names on the back of their, what was the deal there? Did he explain that or ever go into detail, and has that, changed at this point?
He did explain that, and I thought it was a good explanation because everybody's got to have a number at some point. And what he said was kids earn them. And when you earn them, when you're first in line, you get your pick of the number. And it went on down, and I thought he put it well. He said, sometimes the kids pick their numbers, and sometimes we pick them for them, which is why you see players, that are wearing certain positions or at certain positions wearing numbers that you might not see them wearing. And so I think, and I don't know that it applies in every case, and so I don't want to, having said that, cast judgment on a player who's wearing an odd number for his position. Maybe that's what he chose. But the point he made was, everybody gets a number, and either you get to choose it yourself or we choose it for you. And I think the effort that everybody puts into everything, from the workouts to the performance on the field, the classroom, determined when they felt that they had met the standard. And I think they went accordingly with that. And again, some players picked their numbers, and some had them picked for them.
Well, with Chris Lea with VandySports.com, I guess talk a little bit about the styles and the 2 coordinators what their I guess who I guess influenced them in their coaching range to get to this point as the new OC and DC of Vanderbilt?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know specifically who the influencers were, but I've been pretty impressed with most of them. I don't think you can just pin Vanderbilt down to they're going to be this or that on defense, or offense either for that matter. I've seen a lot of looks from both coordinators. I'll say this. I'm really impressed with what Jesse Minter's done, guys. I saw that defense at the end of the last year. I saw that defense in the spring game. I thought there's just no way he can do very much with them. And you watch them, and they're winning day in most practices. And the offense never knows what's coming. I mean, they throw stunts, they throw twists, they throw blitzes, they throw everything known to man at that offense, and it's had a tough time handling it. Offensively, I think they want to be a running-first team. Clark Lea has said that. I don't know if that's in the cards for this year, given they've got some depth issues at running back, given they're having a hard time blocking. But you see a lot of things in practice. You see a lot of passing. You will see 3 and 4 wides. You'll see some power sets. So I think one thing that I like about both coordinators is they seem open to trying a lot of things and seeing what's worked. And I think that's a good approach, and I think that's one that Derek Mason at times could have done better in his approach rather than saying this is what we're going to be and going with it. I think both these guys are very flexible, and I think that's going to help them this year and beyond.
And now I follow that then, Chris. We're on with Chris Lea with Vandy Sports. With what is the strength of the team? And I'm talking about position groups on offense and defense, if you want to, give it that at this point before the season.
I think right now the group that has stood out in practice on offense has got to be the receivers. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they've got a superstar or maybe even a star in there, but I think they've got 7 or 8 guys who can play and have done some things in practice. Defensively, it's hard to say. The line has done well at times. I think they've got a couple of guys in Elijah McAllister and Alex Williams who can really get after the quarterback. They're playing that star position, which is a hybrid defensive line linebacker. The linebackers performed way better than I would have thought. I just thought that was not a very talented group. We saw DeRicky Wright in Saturday's scrimmage, who's playing linebacker. He might have had the best scrimmage of anybody out there on Saturday. And he's the kid that they felt that they could build a lot of their defense around. You didn't know how that would work because he played very sparingly as a true freshman a year ago, but he certainly looked the part. The Orgy kid, Anthony, there's 2 of them. Anthony is the one who is starting, and his brother, Austin, is a backup. But Anthony's had a really good camp. He's given quarterbacks headaches. So I think – I don't know. I might even go linebacker at this point, given the way that Orgy has played and given the way that Wright has played. I never would have guessed that, but they've looked pretty good in camp so far.
We're on with Chris Lea with VandySports.com.
I just remember you mentioned Anthony Orgy, and he seems like a guy who could emerge as a leader on the defense, but it wasn't the deal with him, right? He had switched positions, and he was really, really light for his position last year, so – is he on the same diet as, Blaine and me, where he's able to gain a few lbs, like all honey buns or something?
Yeah, I don't know what his weight is at the moment. I'd have to check on that. I think that is one thing with the defense. It's not going to be the stoutest unit. They move around pretty well in space, so there's that. I think speed is important in this game. But, yeah, they've got a lot of kids who are sort of hybrid athletes. Again, edge guys, not necessarily ends or linebackers, and guys that play linebacker but cover like a safety at times. So that's going to be interesting how they are able to mix and match at different positions because some places they're not the heaviest bunch in the world. But, again, from what I've seen in practice, they've done a pretty good job in making the pieces fit together.
Chris Lea, our guest, VandySports.com. It seems like last year around this time, every day it would be like, this guy just opted out. And then before the end of the show, another guy would have opted out. How many of those people have come back, the opted out guys? And I'm not saying that out of judgment, just curious to know how many are coming back to play again this year.
Well, let me start here. All the kids who transferred out didn't do that on their own. I think they're looking for what they want in a culture. Nobody's come out and said it publicly, but I think there's a feeling that a lot of those kids last year quit on their team. I don't know that that's fair in every case. Certainly everybody had their reasons, and some kids had health injuries. But a lot of the guys who did opt out a year ago are not back. Now, where you have the bulk of the opt-outs back or on the offensive line, where you've got maybe a couple of them who are in position to start. But you saw a lot of those guys hit the transfer portal, and some of them I don't think landed at destinations that they might have wanted to. Now, I think the one that they lost that would have been nice to keep, that they wanted to keep, was Grant Miller, because they were really hurting at center. I think if I could identify a position where they're struggling the most, that would be it. He's going to Baylor. I think he's going to play a lot there. I haven't kept up with it, so I don't know if he'll be at center or guard. But that's one where maybe they would have liked to kept, but they didn't, and that one's really showing up right now. But I think a lot of this was the staff spending an off season trying to figure out how dedicated these guys were to what they were going to do, who fit with the culture and who didn't. And the weeding out process certainly was an interesting one.
Chris Lee, Vandy Sports, our guest here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, you talked about, Chris, some of the guys leaving, but have they used the transfer portal to their advantage, or are they just not using the TP, as I call it?
The transfer portal really is not what they're going to build around. It was a lot of what Mason built around. I think a lot of times they consider transfers somebody else's headache who didn't fit there, and you might be getting that at your place. Now, having said that, Raymond Davis, their running back, their starting running back, is a kid who transferred from Temple, certainly should be in their plans for the fall, and so that's the one that I can think of. But for the most part, they're not going to go very heavy on the transfer portal. They're going to try to bring kids in out of high school, develop them, redshirt some of them, and move them through like Vanderbilt typically has. So, no, I don't anticipate them going that route a whole lot.
Well, one thing that everybody's excited about, and I'm sure Coach Lee is as well, but the players are the new unis.
Yeah.
There are different combinations. Mickey's a big uniform guy. He got psyched about the new unis at Vandy.
It's funny. We did a 35-minute video on YouTube breaking down the uniforms. So, Mickey, you should go check that out.
Man, I'm going to dial that up today.
But, I mean, I agree with you. I think I would give them at a minimum a B+. What I did not like, I think the Star V should be their primary helmet logo. I just think the V is boring. It doesn't give you an identity. And for a program that's searching for one, that's one thing that when you look at it, you know it's Vanderbilt. Other than that, and maybe some gold lettering on the white uniforms, which I think is going to be hard for fans to read in terms of names, I thought they did a tremendous job. I'm not necessarily a Penn State minimalist, but I certainly fall a lot further on that spectrum towards Penn State than I do Maryland. And I just think what they did was a really good combination of being interesting and classic, but not too complicated. Again, fix the helmet logo, make the Star V your primary thing. I've got no complaints. I thought on the whole it was just a really good look.
I guess real quick, any competition battles that we need to know about that is coming down, here to the end before the season starts?
Yeah, I mean, I think center's the one that most of us are watching. Nobody's separated there. They've got, I think, 3 guys in the running. I'm interested to see what they do at guard. We've seen some shuffles there. Defensively, for the most part, they're set. You could see a change. A lot of times you're going to use 5 and 6 DBs anyway, and sometimes it's hard to tell. You see most of the same guys running first team, but there's some second teamers that are getting a lot of snaps at times, and I think you'll see in the nickel and dime packages. You got a freshman or two on the defensive backfield who's made things pretty interesting. But other than health, and maybe it ends. They have got a shot to I'm interested to see if they put Alex Williams and Elijah McAllister on the field at the same time. They did that a little bit the other day. They've been sharing that star position and playing the same spot. Clark Lea said this when I asked him, if you get both those guys on the field, it's got a chance to really improve your pass rush situation. So I'm interested to see if they will start playing those guys at the same time rather than having them as, say, 1A and 1B at the star spot. But, yeah, there's a few, but I think the center is the one that most people who've watched camp would tell you that's the one that we're watching the most.
Going with Chris Lee with VandySports.com.
Hey, I got to ask you this, Chris, because I'm sure like the live and die by recruiting folks would strangle us if we didn't. I saw they had a player decommit, Alex Williams, and then the next day or just within a few hours, Dorian Gates had decommitted, right, too, in a real short burst of time.
Yeah, those were kids that they wanted. Sometimes things work out at Vanderbilt for certain players, and sometimes they don't. There's a short list of reasons that you could cite that you could guess pretty easily. I think that's the case certainly for one of them. The other one was kind of a unique situation. But, yeah, I think they wanted both those kids. But, sometimes part of the equation is being a fit at Vanderbilt for different reasons. And so I think that's one of those that I think the coaching staff probably regrets that those didn't pan out. But it's better to know now than February.
Yeah. How are things going on that front? Obviously, that's a couple that they've lost, but what are some of the highlights so far for Coach Lea and Barton Simmons and the crew with recruiting?
Well, I think the way they put it, they get the kids that they've targeted. They seem to have hit this sweet spot with mid to high three-star players. I think it's tough in the SEC to really compete at a mid-level or higher without 4s and 5s, and they may get those eventually. But they got one of the prize kids from CPA just around the corner. They've got a presence at NBA again, which hasn't been the case in a while. So, it remains to be seen. I think that anytime you play that game of we're higher on these kids than everybody else, and we think we can win with guys that other schools are not targeting as heavily. I'm not saying that other schools aren't targeting them, but you look around the league and you're seeing everybody else in a lot of places getting 4s and 5s. So I guess the point I'm making is I don't know how sustainable that is long term. The thing that you have to mention, of course, is that they've got Barton Simmons, who in terms of talent evaluation is one of the best. If there's anybody that can do it and do this well, it's him. I know that they are strong believers in what they're doing. They love the kids they've got. It's usually going to take at Vanderbilt 2, 3, 4 years to figure out whether they are SEC caliber players. So it's going to be a long time before we can answer that question, but I know that they are very happy with what they've gotten.
Well, Clark, this is nothing to do with that, but I'm sure you're aware with Kumar Rocker in baseball and what happened with the contract and everything else. Where does he go from here? Have you heard what's next for him?
It sounds like independent ball. That's where you've got the most control. I don't know if he'd want to go to Japan or somewhere like that. I mean, that's getting in a thing to where, is a club going to want you just as a one-year rental when you come right back to the States? I don't know how well that flies. The latest chatter I had heard was probably independent ball, and my guess is that's where he lands.
But no surgery.
Not that I've heard. I mean, again, if there's a smoking gun on Kumar Rocker, it's been pretty well hidden. Everybody I talk to is kind of like the rest of us, just kind of shaking their head at what happened.
Gotcha.
Chris, great stuff, man. Thank you. We'll catch up again soon, especially with the season right around the corner. Chris Lea, VandySports.com. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, sir. Latest on Vandy right there. Lots of good stuff from Chris Lea. Clark Lea, no relation, got a challenge ahead, but it seems like he's put together a great crew to try to take it on. So we'll have to see what it looks like this fall for sure. Next segment coming up. Blaine needs to have his phone out and the ringer turned on because he may be getting a call. Blaine and Mickey next.
Buck Rising will always give you the best on the Titans and admittedly may stir it up a little along the way.
The more you stir it, the more it stinks. Ew, what? Well, I mean, that's kind of my job, isn't it? I'm supposed to stir. Now, fortunately, I smell good, so we don't got to worry about that.
The Buck Rising Show, tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
All right, you like You got used to us not being on Zone TV. Well, we're on Zone TV, so you can hang out with us every day on Zone TV. You can see Lucas and Blaine, and if you're not careful, you might see me. Chuck says, LOL, blowing up Evansville. Blaine was merciless on Evansville.
It was not intentional, but it was just the facts. Unfortunately.
Bob, for the last 2 days, has said he's having trouble with our app. And so I've checked it, and Lucas said there's no problem. So I'll say this. If you're on the apps, like Lonzo's always in there, Cousin Mark, we were talking about the people putting in turf fields. He said nothing like the smell of an asphalt track in a plastic field to bring back those memories. Cousin Mark, maybe if one of you guys could give Bob a little instruction. Today he's having trouble with sound on his own TV. He's having trouble, but we haven't heard any more reports. So, Bob, I appreciate you listening and hanging out with us on Zone TV. You know, let's try to get Bob's sound worked out. Looks like he is listening on Facebook. So let's get Bob some help there because it appears he's had trouble now for a couple of days in a row. Now, one thing that the Titans appear to have trouble with, and we will talk about this. We got some notes. They're practicing on the road in Tampa against the Bucs and had a nice practice this morning. One thing that came out of it, I saw Monty Rice actually went down and was carted off the field at one point. And he was kind of coming on.
Yeah.
And Mike Vrabel said, I want to see something from him. Then he went out and played a bunch of plays in the first preseason game. So we'll monitor that situation. So we'll certainly give you an update to start the second hour. Don't think we're not monitoring all that. We are monitoring. But the Titans continue to sign safeties. So they signed another one. They signed 2 last week. They signed 2 days ago, I think. Then they signed another one. So Jamal Carter is the latest. He's got 28 career games that he's played, Denver and Atlanta. They already added Bradley McDougald. He's played 105 games 105 games is a career.
Yeah.
That's a nice career.
Yeah. He was a solid backup and started some games, multiple games, as well as played in a lot of games. I mean, they have some safeties now. Some of these backup safeties better watch out that's on the roster.
Yep.
These guys can actually play. They know what it takes to play in this league, and they've been biting at the bit to get back and get a shot to at least be a backup and a special teamer. You know they're going to give you all they got right now. So, yeah, and there's a lot of safeties out there that's kind of these guys that are, journeymen that are NFL-level players that should be on rosters.
They can also play special teams like day one
that's
for you.
A new CBA then squeezed out all those mid-level, and unless you're going to take the minimum, the mid-level guy no longer exists. I said that was going to happen like 45 years ago.
You 100% called it, and here's the thing. All these dudes have just been sitting at home. So Bradley
working out, but yes.
Yes, 100%, and eating better than me. Bradley McDougald, 105 games. I think he started 82 or 84. He started more than 80 games. I looked this up. Clayton Gathers has played in 56 games in his career. That's the 2 they've signed this week before Jamal
he was
Carter.
With the Colts. I remember with the Colts.
Yeah.
I think he's related to the Gathers that used to play
those Gathers.
For the Falcons.
Jumpy Gathers?
Maybe.
Well, I heard a story about that dude.
They could see you now.
I was reading. There's a great story Sports Illustrated did about in 1989, the Falcons had 3 players die during the season. Oh, really? And a guy was talking about it, and there was a story about Jumpy Gathers that he came walking down the hallway smoking a cigar before a preseason game, and they were trying to get pumped up. He's like, "What are y'all doing?" They said he grabbed 2 dumbbells that were well over 100 pounds each and was just laying on the bench smoking a cigar, just pushing those things up like you and I would get a drink of water.
Yeah.
He said he had grown a man's strength.
Oh.
Jumpy Gathers. So the family name Gathers in the NFL has been around a long time.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of that, all of those kind of players. That last year the guys was like that.
Like a guy smoking in a locker room, you told me. Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is this? I'm looking around like this is not normal.
Ronnie Lott told the story. Fred Dean went in the Hall of Fame, I guess, 2 years ago because nobody went in last year. Fred Dean, pass rushing, an OG pass rusher, big hands.
74, yeah.
And he said the 49ers acquired him. And he said Fred Dean came in the locker room, sat down, took out a pack of cigarettes and started smoking. Sitting at his locker having a smoke. And Ronnie Lott said, I was looking at this guy like he was from another planet. And he said then game action started, and he just started killing people. And he's like, I couldn't believe anybody was smoking in the locker room. I guess they'd kind of run a tight ship because people. You joined the NFL in the '90s. There was a guy smoking in the locker room.
That was the last one too.
Yeah,
He was the
smoking.
only one too.
Yes. And Ronnie said, "Man, I looked at him like he's from another planet." Somebody's like, "Hey, man, don't look at him. You let him do what he does. Leave him alone." Fred Dean. He said, "Boy, Fred helped that dynasty win a couple of them."
Yeah, and actually, I think Eugene Seal got released that year. I mean,
He was the guy who was smoking. He was ex-military.
yeah. He played in Canada, I think, and then he was a demon on special teams.
Yeah.
Oh, the offensive lineman hated him because he was really like a linebacker height, but he had the weight of a D lineman.
Yeah.
And he had the engine of a motor like a DB. I mean, he did not stop. And they used to be woo-wee. Oh, Bruce and even Munchak would be getting after him.
After Eugene
I
Seal.
was like, Eugene, man, you need to chill out, man. This guy's upset, man. Because I'm thinking I'm going to get the repercussions of it in this 46, man. Like
100%.
coming down late. I'm like, I don't want no parts of that.
Hey, Eugene's trying to make the team one more year.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to hit everything that moves. That's how
he did.
Eugene sticks around. But Jamal Carter added Bradley McDougal, Clayton Gathers. They added 2 more last week. Matthias Farley is not practicing right now. Didn't practice today.
Oh, man, he's a good player, too. Got back up. And it ain't Crookshank, right?
I haven't seen Crookshank in a minute. He didn't practice either. So Blaine
Better
Bishop,
watch out.
Blaine Bishop is the next safety to call. How many plays have you got in
you?
you?
Talking about my phone?
Yes, you
No.
leave the phone out on the
No.
countertop and
No.
leave the ringer on.
Yeah, the Titans won't call my phone because they know if they call, I probably wouldn't answer.
It's your chance, man. How many plays have you got in you?
Absolutely zero at this point.
Have
I
you
used
got-
to always say I got one, but I don't think I have one now. After this,
You're
COVID
out of
sitting-
one now.
Yeah, I
Not
think
one.
I'm out on one, man. It's gonna take too long to get the extra 10 pounds I put on for COVID. Yeah, and we can say it's all went out to the muscles. No, man, that didn't slow me down even further.
You would get out there, your instinct would take over.
No, best instinct I got is telling somebody what to do.
Not answering the phone. That's your best instinct.
I can tell one of those safeties what to do. Hey, man, you're supposed to do this. When they do that, you do this, okay? That's about the best I can do right now.
Well, if I was a safety, I'd be getting coached up by the hitman right now. You already are my coach. I know all kinds of stuff because what you and Kevin Dyson tell me. I'm out in practice saying, you got to make the guy run around you. You got to use I'm out there like yelling stuff to myself that nobody's listening, things that you say. So you're coaching me up.
Yeah, well, we got Coach Mack, and then we got Buck, who's at the practice.
I know.
In
hey,
Tampa Bay,
I
man.
know.
So I mean, he was I felt like I was there. Listen to his show, all the tweets and everything else, and the practice. Everything seems like it went fairly decent, considering you're playing the champs who have everybody back. So they're trying to go for 2. Oh, Tom Brady, man, that guy's a hot mess. He's a stinker. You got to watch him, man. He gets everybody to come back, and you want to get a ring, and come on, man, we're going this run. You'll make up the money you want if you sign with us by going on the playoff run. It's nothing like it. Man, he sucks them all in. He gets them. And everybody knows, hey, man, I got shot at a ring. Tom Brady's here.
I know. Oh, anybody's going to answer the phone. They see
Look
Tom
at
Brady.
a Fournette. You on a ring now, you want to get paid, man. What happened?
Right. Well, I got
I'm
good.
I'm coming back.
Right, I got good
Yeah.
because of Tom Brady.
Yeah, Gronk probably going to be in better shape this time. He will not be having fake T-shirts on. He will be in shape.
Oh, we
this
had our
time.
guy Rick on Stroud covering the Bucks yesterday. He said, no, he's out there.
Yeah,
He's
he
doing
is-
it this
yeah,
year.
he's in
Came right.
shape.
He said
Yeah.
Tom Brady was like, Gronk, come back another year. Yes, sir. All right, we'll tell you everything we know about practice in Tampa from earlier today. That's next. It is Blaine and Mickey. It's the hump day version of the show.
The Titans are in Tampa against the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, it's the preseason, but hey, it's Tom Brady. Mike Keith and Coach Mack have the kickoff Saturday night at 6:30
Throws a man down and goes out of bounds at the 40.
on your home for Titans football and flagship for Titans radio. 104.5 The Zone.
home and somebody reminds me, it's like, you realize by the time you say that, you're more than halfway through the show. So we're further than halfway through the show. How about that? We're more than halfway through the show.
It always goes too fast. It's never enough time.
2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you blink and you miss it. Melissa said this to us on Zone TV. By the way, join us there. She said, my son has a name for your show.
Uh-oh.
A dose, D-O-S, slash dose, like D-O-S-E, I'm following here, of 104.5 The Zone. Dose as in two of you, 2 hours, and it's a dose of sports information. Her son is like bilingual and way smarter. I had to read that 3 times to realize what she was saying. But it's dose.
Well, better you than me.
Dose. Yes. So thank you, Melissa. We appreciate you and your son for listening. Thank you.
Oh, keep that in mind.
It's a dose of sports for Dos hours.
All I think of when I heard
We should be sponsored by Dos Equis.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
I mean, in my mind's like,
Dos
how do we do this? That would be the other dose. Titans and Bucks, day 1 of joint practice. Vrabel had said on Monday at the stadium over here after practice, he said, we're taking everybody who can practice.
Oh, right.
We're taking everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody goes. Saw this list come out early. I think this was Jim Wyatt. No Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown.
No, they were there.
They were there, but they didn't practice.
Okay.
Nate Davis,
No.
Ben Jones. Saw a little bit of Nate Davis. Haven't seen Ben Jones in a minute. Darrington Evans. How worried are you at this point about Darrington Evans? Because think about what happened last year and then what happened this year before he played a game.
Well, there was no OTAs last year, so it's kind of excusable more so. But, I mean, man, for nobody to hit him and watch him run, it must be another muscle deal. I mean, it didn't look like he tweaked a knee or anything like that. So I'm more concerned about that it's a muscle injury. If I'm guessing, but I'm assuming. Yeah, I'm a little concerned. I mean, but you can find another running back. It's just that now you can't implement him into the offense on a regular basis, and that's a little concerning. And also, it's a little concerning. I know Julio doesn't have to practice a lot, but he is on a new team. Try to get that chemistry with the quarterback is always important. So at some point, I know we've got a ways to go here, but that 2 weeks before, the third preseason game and then the week in between the first regular season game, you got to start getting some work. I don't think they're real concerned, but still have to work with your new quarterback.
Yeah.
Want to be on the same page. So, but he's a vet. He's 10 years. So just sometime when you're on a new team, I think it's understated that you need to be out there.
Let me ask you this. How many games did you miss in your first 9 seasons, if you added them all up?
How many games I missed?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but not very many.
Right. I mean, you'd have to think to even think of.
I can't even.
You would have to
have
think.
Been a game here or there through that. So I bet it's less than 5 until that 9th year.
How many guys were there that came and went at some point because you played 10 years total? How many guys were there like you looked at that guy and you thought, that guy could play in this league. He could play a long time, but he can't stay healthy.
No, that happened all the time.
Is that not crazy?
Yeah, that happens. I mean, it's because there's too many players to choose from.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Darrington Evans at some point here in the next year or so, if he doesn't stay healthy, they're going to be like, well, what can we do? And then, what's so funny? That if they release him, the next year or so, he get picked up and then stays healthy and then makes it and does a good job. Now, just think about this now. Marcus Johnson just said that the other day. He says, I've gotten to stay healthy. Yep. And I was assuming the way he was talking like it was all muscular type. He strained a hammy or a calf or something, kind of always slowed him down to reach his full potential. And then all of a sudden, knock on wood for him, he's staying healthy and he's getting to showcase what he can really do, on the Titans. So, yeah, you can lose out on an opportunity pretty easy, especially a running back. And luckily for him, they drafted him. That's going to give him a little more grace. But, man, I don't know how long you're going to wait, especially if something happens to Henry, they'll really be pissed at that point because he was supposed to be the guy because he can run in between the tackles as a power guy, 1 foot, get it up the field, and he's got the speed and agility and the hands to be a pass catcher because he was a receiver at some point in college.
Yes.
So, I mean, man, he's really valuable, and they're not even getting a chance to use him really at all.
And you think about a guy like Jeremy McNichols, who's always last on the depth chart. He's always forgotten.
Teamer.
That dude never doesn't practice, though. Yeah. It's like Marcus Johnson and Chester Rogers. So Julio and AJ, it's like we're going to kind of keep them bubble wrapped. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's what have those two done? Taken every available rep, missed no days, missed no reps. And you think about that, the practice regimen for a superstar is don't practice for weeks. But for those cats, hey, man, you can't skip one day.
Yeah.
Your whole life in the NFL depends on it. They're taking advantage of it.
Well, they have a lot invested in the organization in the star players, and the starters, and then the guys who are fighting for everybody's fighting for that backup role. They can't do that.
No days
They're
off.
always going to fight, and sometimes that's kind of how they're built, and they're used to it, and their bodies are, because they can't say, I need this day off. My calf is a little tight. Nah.
Nope. Tape it up.
Especially in this day and age where, you can miss practice if you sneeze too hard.
Right.
Yeah. So
But-
some people walk out and say, it's raining, I may melt. I can't practice today.
And if you're a vet, you're Taylor Lewan, okay, man, fine. Don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
If you're dang Jeremy McNichols, hey, man, I just got my thumb glued back on before practice, but I'm gonna be fine.
I
Put
mean,
some
and
K-tape
McNichols
on
may
it.
have to watch out for Sargent.
Yeah.
You see that?
Well, the one thing
The
got
Sargent.
I know the sergeant.
Iowa.
I know the sergeant will be marching in trying to get his job. So we're to Darrington Evans on the didn't practice list. Dang Cruikshank again. Hey man, that ain't good.
Yeah. I think my league should be like, one of these other safeties coming here. I'll be like, we got to let you ride. He's too inconsistently in and out of the lineup of the last 2 years for sure of injuries. And then he has a world of talent. And by the way, Hooker has passed him because now he is the starter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Cruikshank was here before him, like the year or two before him. Yeah, this you're not living up to billing. At this point in time, you should be fighting for that starting job. You're nowhere near that.
And if not, if you're only a special teams guy, they're gonna pay some guy $450 to do it who just got here. Yeah.
It's you better watch out. Injury settlement is about to.
I mean,
You can't be that guy anymore.
you can't. You don't have time to be injured. You just can't. You just got to find a way to get through it. But he's been injured. Tucker,
Availability, Mickey.
there's no better ability than availability.
It's the NFL, man.
What did Frank Wycheck used to say? You can't make the club in the tub.
Yeah.
Which made me laugh every time.
And you know what's so funny? All the guys say that when we're sitting there in the cold tub.
Yes.
Yeah, you sit there like, shoot, man. What's wrong with you? Why are you in the tub? Oh, for one, so I can practice. I can't make the club if I don't get in the tub. It changes.
Tucker McCann didn't practice. Danico Autry, Matthias Farley missed again, and Jeff Swain. So they literally have like a revolving door, and safety's just coming in and out of it every day. It
And
seems
it's so
like.
hard to. Yeah, you got to pick up the scheme system.
Yep.
Everybody's a little bit different, even on your alignment and what they ask for you to do. Even if it's just a yard difference, whether it's depth, width. I mean, man. So I applaud those guys because they've been waiting, so they don't care anything about that. They're going full bore. I'm gonna learn the whole playbook in 24 to 48 hours. And I'm about to ball.
No doubt.
Yeah, because they're about to
No
be
doubt.
the eye in the sky's about to show them come Saturday.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, I just gotta make sure I know what I'm doing.
Be in the right place.
Mm-hmm. And then now I'm off the race. Boom! It's like a racehorse.
All right. Jordan Dajani is a racehorse of knowledge for CBS Sports for the NFL. Really quickly, some notes I put together from different people who were at practice today. Lots of talk about Chester Rogers. He had a big day again.
Yeah,
More Chester Rogers.
That's my guy.
Elijah Molden played, had a pick. Jackrabbit had a pick. Amani Hooker had a pick. So 3 at least that I saw. Jayon Brown had a couple of PBUs on throws to Gronk and 7-on-7. Jayon, the cover guy, showing up. Ficken went 9 of 10 on field goals. At this point, I would say unless he just decides to swim the Cumberland or something, Ficken's probably got this job. 'Cause you're not paying him much of anything.
Well, I'm gonna wait to see if McCann gets healthy first.
Okay.
I think they really want him to win the job.
Yeah.
And he looked
Can't make the
part.
club in the tub, though.
And he's injured, right? So
he's
how,
injured.
how quickly can your ankle heal, and then you get out there and still be the guy you were before the injury? So
Because he looked good against Atlanta.
he did.
He looked like an NFL kicker. But so does Ficken. But again, 9 of 10 today on field goals by various reports. I think even one of the Bucks reporters reported that.
We want to know. I saw Farley in some one-on-ones versus Evans, and he looked pretty good.
Yeah. I saw one PBU of him and Evans.
I'm like, whoa. I
and
mean,
he-
I didn't say it was perfect. He could do a little bit better at the line on some
Here's the
technique,
thing.
but man, his catch up and his size definitely showed.
and it's
He did a
against
speed
Evans.
turn on one of them against AB. I was like, whoa. I didn't learn that till I got to the NFL.
Well, and again, you mentioned his size. The play where he's covering Evans, I want people to understand Evans isn't a real person. He was created in a lab. He was a sophisticated cyborg that was sent back in time.
Guy, converted basketball player.
But like all muscle, just freaky.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's thick even.
Yeah.
He's not even skinny. He's a sophisticated cyborg who was sent back in time. And Farley doesn't look small next to him like everybody else does. He showed up out here a couple of years ago and they practiced with the Titans, and people look like his children. Dudes that was standing next to him look like his children. And Farley didn't, maybe a younger brother, but not his child.
Well, I would say this. Farley looks like how the King Henry does to the other running backs on his own team.
Okay.
The DBs on Farley on the Titans look like they are shark because Farley's just that much taller. He's a 6'2", 6'3" guy.
And not small, not skinny,
And
not skinny
playing
legs.
Corner.
Yeah, he is.
Mhm.
Looks like what safeties used to look like.
Yes.
Sure
he
does. Monty Rice helped off the field. We'll try to get an update on him as well. So one injury thing that I saw involving a Titan. When we come back, though, we'll our weekly visit, all things NFL with Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. You do not want to miss it.
Your home value
Install.
is way up this year, and with mortgage rates back to all-time lows, it's a great time to call Loan Pronto. Refinance now and get cash out of your home's equity. Hey, it's Dawn Davenport. Loan Pronto can refinance your loan at a super low rate, pay the closing costs for you, and get you a bunch of cash out. How does $40, $50, or $60,000 sound? Don't just sit on that home's new value. Use it. Use it to pay off credit
my lane just a little bit, that thing would go, and it'll pull me back.
Dude, I've had my truck so long, it's like my third child.
Hey, man, I like your truck, though. It looks like it's like that Tonka truck. Like, nothing can break it. The body, the outside of it looks awesome.
Well, my daughter might be driving it some, so let's hope it's unbreakable.
I haven't been in the inside, but in a long time.
It is low on technology, let's say that.
Well, you could always put in technology.
Well, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that. Jordan Dajani joins us. You're a Nashville guy, right? I will just tell you, Jordan, be careful driving around because Lucas will be out there in a few minutes.
Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, okay, good to know. Now I know not to go to the gym, stay off the highways if Lucas is on the road.
Hey, I just want to get sentimental for a second. Blaine knows that I'm just a sentimental old fool, so I wanted to just get sentimental with you for a second. When you remember the Tebow era, what's going to be the thing you remember most? What are you going to carry with you of this era?
Oh, my.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was definitely a moment in time that I'm not going to forget anytime soon. There's no doubt about that. I'll never forget that his jerseys were once on the top of sales at NFL.com. I will never forget the fact that Urban Meyer told his front office that there was a legitimate chance that Tebow would be able to come in and help this team win. There's a lot of things to take away from this. But, yeah, unfortunately, his first preseason showing was not a good one. He had a couple of block attempts that went viral. So it's always sad to see an era like this come to an end, but it's probably best for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jordan Dajani covers the NFL for CBS Sports. He's going to join us all the time now. We're looking forward to it every week right here on Blaine and Mickey.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going to just stay with the Tebow real quick, though. Do you think this affects his legacy and maybe more so as an athlete because he didn't make it in baseball, which I thought he was? I was a guy out there cheering for him. I'm a big Tebow guy, but I didn't think he was going to do very well here in the NFL naturally, and he didn't. But do you think people are going to view his legacy differently or more so he gave a huge effort and he didn't care about failing?
Yeah, this is a really good question. And my answer to your question is no. I don't think it's going to affect his legacy. And the only reason is because this stint with the Jaguars was so short-lived. I mean, he only lasted one preseason game. I was very surprised that he was cut at this point in time. I thought that Urban Meyer might want to give him 2 or maybe even 3 preseason games before he started considering cutting down his tight end room and cutting one of his best friends, basically. So it was so short-lived that, it'll be a funny joke to go back to. And if there's ever a big roast of Tim Tebow, I'm sure it'll be brought up. But in terms of his legacy and what he brought to the game of football, especially at the college level, obviously, no, I don't think that this is going to affect it in a negative way.
Well, speaking of funny, and it's probably not a joke, but is the Washington football team going to stay the WFT team, or are they going to originally get a name here pretty soon, like next season or something? They're going to announce it during the season this year. What are they going to do? Are they going to stick with it? What do you know anything about this?
Yes, I'm actually glad you brought this up. I used to work somewhat on the Washington quote-unquote beat for 247sports.com, and the Washington, formerly known as the Redskins, are like my family's favorite team. I have a lot of family in D.C., so I definitely have a soft spot in my heart for this team. Now, I believe they should stay the Washington football team. I think a lot of people think it's a joke, but at the same time, it's kind of pushing back against the league, right? They didn't make them, but they chose to change their name because of a lot of outside pressure. So the people who missed that, Redskins name, keeping them as the Washington football team means that they don't have to necessarily rename themselves, right? They just gave up on their name, but they're not choosing and adopting another name. So we saw a report come out this week that they have chosen, but they have 3 names left on the table that they're considering adopting. Here's my theory. I think one of them could potentially be the Washington football team. One of those 3 options could just be to stay with what they have. And, it's very interesting because I don't know when they plan on putting this new name into effect, but let's say it's after this season. What if the Washington football team has a great season? What if they win the NFC East again? What if they win a playoff game? What if they win a little bit more? I think that'd be more reason to keep the Washington football team. And honestly, as a fan, I think that's what I would choose to do.
No doubt about it.
I do want them to pick Red Wolves just so they'll have to pay Arkansas State royalties because they will. Trademarked. I'm rooting for Red Wolves for a cash influx for my college. Sorry, man. I had to put that in there.
Yeah, he's an Arkansas State guy for life.
Yep.
That's for sure. Man. Well, one more thing, Jordan, before I pass it back to my cohort there, Mickey Ryan, and that is I saw Josh Rosen. got released. And I just feel so bad for him because he's like been on what 4 teams and 5? I don't know how many teams. I don't know, maybe 5 teams. But let's say if you're critiquing him, what are his strengths and weaknesses, and why is he not sticking? Is that somebody maybe the Titans should consider like bringing in to compete with Woodside as well as Barkley?
Yeah, I feel really bad for this kid. I think, 4 teams now? Cardinals, Dolphins, Buccaneers, and 49ers. He was on the practice squad for the Buccaneers, didn't get to dress for them. But I feel really bad for this kid because his first 2 years when he was actually playing football, he was on 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. He wasn't getting much help with the Cardinals. If you remember, that entire Cardinals coaching staff was fired after just 1 year. That's how abysmal they were. And then we went to the Dolphins, and at the beginning of that 2019 season in Miami, we thought the Dolphins were pulling off the most obnoxious and absurd tank of all time in the NFL. That's how bad they were at the beginning of the 2019 season. He and I think it was Fitzpatrick were splitting time. I always feel like Josh Rosen didn't get much of a chance. I feel like he's somebody who, if I was any NFL team, I would like to stash on my practice squad and have him try to develop. Now, I say that, but I would not want him to bring him in and make him compete with Logan Woodside. I would definitely rather have Logan Woodside at this point in time. But I don't think Josh Rosen has gotten necessarily a fair shake in the NFL compared to some of his counterparts. He's a guy that I would like to stash on a practice squad and check out for myself.
We're on with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports and CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, this taunting rule emphasis, you think about this. It's $1 billion league, and it's not like they don't have their share of problems. And it's like, you know what? Let's legislate enthusiasm out of the game. How in the world did we get here with that, Jordan?
Oh, man, that's a good question. So from what John Mara said with the New York Giants, he's been on that part of that board that makes these decisions when it comes to penalties and rules on the field. And he said that, this is an issue that they've been looking at for years, and they get annoyed when they see celebrations, basically. It's kind of like the old man shaking his fist at the cloud, in my opinion. But, we saw a lot of flack from the players on social media yesterday, saying that this was corny, that this was something that they thought was dumb, like you mentioned, or taking the enthusiasm out of the game. I think that, allowing players to have that kind of swagger, to a degree, mind you, I think we all can go between what's taunting and what's going over the line. I think we can all understand that. I think that players can be able to, have enough swag and celebrate the way they want to. So I don't like that the NFL is coming down harder on this. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the regular season because we've already seen a couple of case studies in the preseason of players get flagged for taunting. And the one that happened in the Panthers and Colts game, I think everybody took exception to. So hopefully the NFL is more open to these examples and trying to adjust on the fly with what they consider to be over-the-line taunting and what they don't. But it's going to be something that I think everyone has eyes on as we move into the regular season.
Well, all due respect to John Mara, and I'm no spring chicken myself. I'm not as old as he is, but you think Oregon calls, somebody who's almost 70 years old and goes, "Hey, you think we should cut back on some of this uniform swag?" "Yes, I do." "Well, then we're going to do. No. Dude, you got to keep it moving. And I'm, again, no spring chicken myself, but nobody was watching NFL games. Watch some guy who's getting his one moment in the sun in the NFL carry 7 guys for 8 yards and get up and just like flex, like yes, and then get flagged and thought, yeah, that's the right thing that should happen. I get it, but of all the ways to skew older instead of younger, this one I'll never understand this. And hopefully throughout the year they realize this was a mistake and they just kind of stop throwing flags for stupid stuff, and then it never gets talked about again.
Right. That's such a good point. And what's funny is we thought the NFL was being more open, becoming more open up and trying to cater to some of the younger fan base. We saw them pull back on the penalty flags when it came to celebrations for scores. We thought we were going in the right direction with this stuff. This seems kind of like a step backwards. But like you said, I think it's very possible because they've already received some negative feedback for their ruling. And we've had one preseason week, and we've already seen 2 or 3 penalties when it comes to this. Hopefully they can be more open to adjusting with what they rule as worth a penalty flag and what's not worth a penalty flag.
Yeah, no doubt. Jordan Dajani, our guest, CBS Sports NFL coverage.
Well, Jordan, I watched the Indianapolis Colts and Jacob Eason and Ellinger, and they look freaking pretty good. I know it's preseason, but I'm just talking to the Titans fans. I want to hear what you think. Man, they look like they could hold the fort, at least Eason for the first game or two before they play the Titans. What did you see out there? I didn't go and break down the video and everything, but they look very comfortable throwing the football.
Yeah, Blaine, I'm glad you brought this up, man. I thought this was one of the more underrated storylines of the preseason, and I think it's because this was the final game that took place in the opening week, took place on Sunday at noon Central Time, I think. I was watching this game and doing some live blog stuff for CBS Sports. I was very impressed with Jacob Eason. 15 to 21, 183 yards, but what really stood out, and I remember talking to, I think it was Chris Trapasso, one of my colleagues at CBS. He tweeted that Jacob Eason has a top 5 arm in the NFL just when it comes to strength. And I thought we saw that on full display. He was throwing the ball so hard that his receivers, like 20 yards downfield, were having a tough time bringing it in. So he has that NFL arm talent. I was impressed with what he did. Now enter Sam Ellinger. This was fascinating. When he came in the second half, I thought he was almost like I don't want to use the word I want to use, but he was not doing well. He threw an interception on one of the first drives. It looked like the Colts were definitely going to lose this game, and all of a sudden, he finds this rhythm. He connected with one of his former college teammates, like 47 yards down the field. Then he completed this great one-handed catch by one of his teammates that set up what ended up being the game-tying touchdown. He went 10 of 15 for 155 yards through that pick that I mentioned. But, man, when he found a rhythm against this defense, it was something special to see. So, I mean, I'm not going to overreact and say that these guys, can be the future of the Colts. But at the same time, I think that the Colts definitely have a legitimate backup quarterback battle on their hands. And I'm excited to watch these two kids in week 2.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm glad you saw what I saw in a little more in detail there for sure. Well, since we're on the quarterbacks there, Jordan, let's talk about all these first-round quarterbacks and who's actually going to pull off being a starter week 1, if any of them.
Yeah, so I was on CBS Sports Radio this weekend, and I was given a line of 2.5. There's 5 quarterbacks that were taken in that first round. 2.5, would you go over/under? And I decided to go on the under. I'm going to be conservative here because we know that Trevor Lawrence is going to start. We know that Zach Wilson is going to start. I don't know if we're going to get that third quarterback to start when it comes week 1 of the regular season. I think we should. I think 4 quarterbacks probably should be starting that were taken in the first round, but I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think I could take too much away from the performances of Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. They only played a couple of drives. They did what they needed to do. They had a couple of good throws, a couple of bad throws. I had more an eye on guys like Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. And a lot of people want to talk about Justin Fields. He had a great showing. I mean, he had 1 touchdown through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground. I think he really adds something to this offense. He's exciting. He wants to make the big play, and I don't think that's exactly where Andy Dalton is at this point in his career. Justin Fields would be a rookie quarterback that I would strongly consider starting. I hope Matt Nagy is paying attention in the preseason. I really do wonder what his game plan is because, as we talked about on your show before, this could be something that saves his job. But another guy I want to bring up is Mac Jones. A lot of people aren't talking about Mac Jones and his performance. They didn't think they really saw anything. But I was watching that game, and I was actually very impressed. Yes. 13 of 19, 87 yards. He's not going to light up the box score, but in my mind, he looked very comfortable. He looked poised. He had a really good deep ball down the left side of the field that was almost 50 yards in the air. The receiver wasn't able to connect because of the A-plus coverage, but he couldn't have placed the ball any better, and that was probably his 4th throw of the game. The other thing that people keep bringing up is that viral tweet between Mac Jones and Cam Newton. Average depth of target, Mac Jones had 7.6 yards compared to Cam Newton's 0.7 yards. So I talked about Justin Fields adding something to an offense. I think Mac Jones can do that for the Patriots. So I was very impressed with what I saw him do in week 1 of the preseason. A lot of that has to do with that I'm out on Cam Newton. So keep an eye on the Patriots moving forward because if we do see a third quarterback or a third rookie quarterback start in week 1, my money is that it's going to be Mac Jones for the New England Patriots.
Man, Jordan, I'm right there with you. And I think you can then use, we can give the term Cam Newton as kind of the gadget guy that comes in and can run the football as well as throw the football. But I'm all in on Mac Jones after what I saw, just like you did. I guess lastly for me, talking about quarterbacks, these are not young quarterbacks, but guys who are now trying to be the starter. And that is who's going to win the job between Winston and Hill with the Saints.
Ooh.
And that's Jameis Winston. That's Tyson Hill.
Yep, that's a great question. And I was definitely watching this game because of the legitimate quarterback battle like you brought up. And what's really interesting is that Taysom Hill got the start. I assume Jameis probably gets to start week 2. But, man, Taysom Hill struggled. He went 8 of 12, 81 yards, threw a pick. The first 2 drives, the Saints turned the ball over. One was a fumble and one was a Taysom Hill pick. He had 2 other passes that I thought should have been intercepted. In fact, all 3 Saints quarterbacks threw an interception, which was kind of gross. New Orleans turned the ball over 6 times against the Baltimore Ravens and still only lost by 3 points. So that was a pretty fascinating game. Now, I've always maintained that Jameis Winston is going to win this job, and that's for 2 reasons. One, he has extended experience as a starter. He once led the NFL in passing yards. He was number 2 in passing touchdowns. That experience obviously is a good thing. But number 2, Sean Payton likes to use Taysom Hill as a gadget player. You can't use Taysom Hill as a guy blocking punts, as a wide receiver, and as a running back if he's playing and starting quarterback, right? So that's why I think Jameis Winston is going to have the job in his hands when it comes week 1.
Well, with Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
All right, one more quick one on the way out. Bills fans waited forever. Those are the most passionate people. They kill themselves jumping through tables. They waited for the team to get good. The team got good again, and immediately things are getting super contentious about the stadium.
Yeah, this is a really interesting story. And, we talked earlier about, them allegedly threatening to move to whatever it was, Texas or something like that. Now they're talking about, the renovation not being a viable option. It's coming up on its 50-year anniversary or something like that. It's a stadium that definitely needs some of those renovations, and you see it on TV. It's one that could definitely use some facelifting, if you will. But I still think that they're going to be able to find and come to terms and be able to come to a deal to keep this stadium here exactly where it is. I don't know if they're going to build a new one or if they're just going to add some renovations. I'm sure the two sides can come together and come to a reasonable conclusion because, like you said, I think it helps a lot that this team has found some success on the field. So that's got to be a good thing. But I'm not overreacting too much just yet. I think that they'll be able to come to terms on a deal.
All right, no overreactions here. Jordan Dajani at Jordan Dajani, CBS Sports, covering the NFL. Thank you, man. Look forward to catching up with you next week, brother.
All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We'll catch up to Jordan Wednesdays throughout the football season. Get all the latest as he covers the NFL for CBS Sports. All right, Tom Brady got picked off not once, not twice, 3 times today by the Titans defense. What did he say about the Titans defense after practice? Our man Lucas has collected the audio. You will hear from the GOAT next as we get ready to wrap up Blaine and Mickey.
The Titans play 4 preseason quarters against Tom Brady's Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And your flagship for Titans radio has the game.
Comeback foiled.
Saturday night at 6:30 on your home for Titans football. 104.5 The Zone.
Coming up next, be safe out there. It's raining pretty heavy. Titans and Bucs got at it this morning. Day one of 2 days of practice. We'll hear from Tom Brady in just a second, but really busy time in the chat for us. We appreciate everybody on Zone TV. Caden had asked this, Blaine, what do you want to – he says, what do you want to hear? I'm not sure. But he says, what should we expect from the secondary in these joint practices, which they had a decent day today. I know they gave up some ground, but they also picked off Tom Brady 3 times.
Yeah, you know what? I actually we're hearing what I expect. And from a young secondary outside of Jackrabbit and Bayard, I think you want to see that they're playing with confidence, that they believe that they belong and that they can compete against some potentially Hall of Fame guys to Pro Bowl guys to all pro guys. I mean, they're getting some good work out there from Evans, AB, and the list goes on. Godwin. I mean, these guys are elite receivers in this league. So that's exciting to hear. Even when I was seeing some of the tweets on the one-on-ones by some of the guys, even the young guys, Christian Fulton was out there making some plays. I think he got a penalty too. We're holding on one of them. But these guys are playing aggressive-natured and they're not scared of the moment. So that's exactly what I want to hear. And they're going to challenge them. They're going to compete. And I think the coaches had a conversation that we're out here for this is a business transaction, which I thought they would. I didn't think anything was going to happen crazy today or tomorrow unless somebody does something egregious to someone. But I'm sure the conversation was we're out here to work. There will be no fighting. Anybody fight, you probably will get fined and sent in. And that's how you get everybody's notice. Nobody wants to give up anything out of their pocketbook. So, yeah, I liked how they went about their business. And I'm sure some people got smashed. I'm sure some people got upset at times. It always is going to happen. Guys are out there competing. You're talking about grown men are competing for their lives.
Yep.
And I don't think people really understand, like, you're competing for your livelihood. This is it. Most guys go, where am I going from here if I don't make it here? Yeah. You don't want to be in that situation. And I'm talking about even veteran guys, like these safeties we picked up. Like, these guys are like, nah, man, this is my moment. So I could see a guy like that. Oh, let AB come across the middle. Let me catch him slipping. I'm about to make a name for myself right now.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always try to tell people these are like, just imagine if you went to work, whatever you do, I don't care what it is, and a busload of people showed up and like 5 guys did the exact same thing you did, and they were going to try to take your job that day.
Yep.
And
everybody's watching you. So
everybody's watching.
In the office setting, everybody's sitting there. Let's compete. Let's see who can finish the job the fastest and most efficient and the best.
Right. And you just go at it
every time.
But imagine the office was outside and it was 103 degrees because that's it's hotter than crap in Tampa right now.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hot everywhere right now. At this point. We can say the degrees high, the humidity is high. I mean, at this point, I don't know. I don't think it's an advantage. It's hot wherever you're at this point. Is it hotter in some places? Yeah. But that shouldn't have been a factor. For me, as I got older, it was all about I want hot.
Mm-hmm.
You know why I want hot? Oh, I keep these old muscles revving up.
Oh, yeah.
They nice and loose and lathered up. There's no tightness going on anywhere. So, yeah. I love the heat.
Tom Brady, he loves the heat. He got some heat from the Titans defense today. He also apparently he had a real nice streak where he completed a bunch at one point as well. But Titans defense with 3 picks off of Brady. He talked about the challenges facing the Titans defense in this joint practice.
They're good. They're challenging. Obviously, they're very good fundamentals. They play their help all the time. Very stout in the run game. They try to confuse you in the secondary. It's a really good job of that today a few times. So obviously, one of their defenses always in the league, and we're a lot of good players. So it was good work for us, and obviously it wasn't our last time I talked to you, I don't think we had a great day either. So I'm saying, but
what did he say there at the end? I couldn't actually hear him all the way at the end there. Did you hear him, Lucas?
No, something about I don't think he thought he had a great day.
Oh, okay. That's
that
when everybody started laughing
with it. Yeah. We talked about that. You think those are fake laughs or real laughs?
Oh, it's Tom Brady. People are definitely laughing to make like that. You got it, Tom. That's amazing. Tom, you're the best.
Oh, man. Please. Not everything you do, Tom, is great.
It's great.
Stop.
He's great on
Stop
Twitter.
that.
He's
Stop
great
that.
at going in the wrong house and
He's-
practicing in the wrong park.
Yep, he's laughing to the bank right now. I got him again, honey. I mean, Giselle.
That dude. Well, they always said she made more money than him as a supermodel. So,
Yeah, or she still does.
so why don't they just throwing their money into the same account and just watching it multiply? It's never aging.
In Brazil, Tom Brady is Giselle's husband.
Oh, listen to the.
Yeah, well, right here in Tennessee, he is. Tom Brady is Giselle's husband, right in the studio.
That's universal, Lucas, for anybody who's seen Giselle.
I mean, I think she like doubles his salary per year or something like that.
Easily.
It's crazy.
Is she? Where does she? Because Lucas, if you're new to the show, Lucas Panzica has Brazilian heritage. Where does she rank in Brazil next to like soccer stars, superstars? Is she right up there with them?
Oh yeah, I mean you're seeing her in commercials, shampoo commercials, anything. I mean she's like Jennifer Lopez or something down there.
Oh, she got the wings on.
I don't know about that. I don't know if she's like go easy breezy beautiful, but where you can't go far without seeing her on like a billboard or something somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Just put that money
Sometimes
away.
I dream I was Tom.
We got to put our wings on. We got to fly out of here. 3HL coming up next. Titans Amy is going to join us tomorrow. We're going to get firsthand account of what's going on in Tampa. Also, Doug Matthews with the latest with the Tennessee Vols. Coach Matthews, always love catching up with him, too. That's it, man. 2 hours. Once again, it's all over. And it stopped raining. We'll just drive home.
Yep, good. We saw the good, the bad, and the ugly, and now we see the great. Blaine and Mickey finish up on hump day. And as always, stay safe and peace.
Watch out for Lucas on the roads.
Witness the passion that unites us all.
Touchdown, Tennessee. Wow.
The Vols play here.
104.5 The Zone.
Boxing legend Manny Pacquiao